Hi everybody, this is Noelle from Petitti Garden Centers, and we're here at our Oakwood Village store, and it's a lovely August day, and wouldn't you know it, the Rose of Sharon are absolutely gorgeous. So we're going to do a spotlight today on Rose of Sharon. They're also known as hibiscus, so they're in the big hibiscus family, Hibiscus Syriacus. A lot of these guys are crossbreeds, so don't get me wrong. So sometimes you'll see hibiscus hybrida. That means that they've kind of been, crossbred to produce some beautiful flowering and foliage and habit as we go here. So how to be successful with Rose of Sharon, I'm going to tell you they're one of the easiest low maintenance plants out there. And I always say this, everybody thinks, oh, Rose of Sharon, they produce so many seedlings, but that's really older varieties. So let's talk about how you can take care of them, and then we'll kind of talk about the family and all the different cool varieties that are available out there. So to start out with, Rose of Sharon does the best in full sun conditions. So 6 or more hours of direct sunlight, no problem. You'll get awesome flowering, beautiful green foliage, easy peasy. However, if you have a part shade condition, so that 4 to 6 hour mark where you get a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the evening, or, just a little bit more dappled shade around, they'll still grow. They're very, very tenacious in that respect. So Rose of Sharon, no problem. You can still grow them in part shade. Will they bloom as well? No, probably not. And they'll also probably stretch a little bit more, kind of seeking out the sunlight. So just keep that in mind if you're trying to kind of fill a part shady spot. It might work for you pretty well, but really full sun is best. Now, a soil with Rose of Sharon, they are not picky. You just want to avoid the extremes of soil. So you don't want your soils to be overly dry. You don't want them to be overly wet, but anything in between, no problem. So slightly dry, average soil, moist soil, clay soil, which we have a ton around here. That's always really, really good. And pH too, they're not finicky about soil pH. So this plant literally can be planted, in the landscape, in the garden, at the foundation of a house, no problem whatsoever. Now, I will have to say, if you amend your soils with organic matter, which we talk about all the time, that's always going to help your soils, help with drainage as well. So do keep that in mind. They do prefer rich soil, but they will grow in poor soil. So just keep that up here. With watering, it's like every other landscape plant that we talk about, perennials and trees and shrubs in the nursery. It's really 1 inch of water, 1 time per week, okay? A slow, thorough watering or deep watering, okay? If you get a 1/2 inch of rainfall, you supplement with a 1/2 inch of water. Now, once these plants are established, and this goes for a lot of woody trees and shrubs, once they're established, so you're really doing that, you got to keep an eye on the watering, kind of that first growing season. But once the roots are established, really the watering maintenance goes way down. So when you're in a drought season or it's been drier out there, do pay attention and try again to water thoroughly, provide that 1 inch of water during those times. But really, these plants are very, very heat and drought tolerant, so no problems there as well. Fertilization is very easy. With these guys, we always recommend a slow release fertilizer. So we're going to go with plant tone and iron tone. Okay, you're going to apply it early spring 1 time, and then midsummer is for your 2nd time. Oh, bee is flying right in front of my face. And so that is it. Okay, so really 2 feedings, slow release food, no problem whatsoever. Okay, they really don't need more than that. Now let's talk about attributes. Attributes of this plant are many. And of course, I have the bees right by me. And so they are an excellent pollinator plant. Now, I've often mentioned before, if you have a flower that is a doubled petaled flower, you don't see as many bees around it because they can't find the pollen in the center of that plant. So just be aware, if you try to grow a Rose of Sharon with a doubled flower, you're not necessarily going to get as many pollinators. Don't get me wrong, they're still trying to search for that pollen and that nectar inside that flower with Rose of Sharon. And some of the doubles are actually more like a semi-double, so you will see the centers of the flowers. That's a good thing if you're wanting to grow Rose of Sharon for pollinators. Of course, these plants in general really give us great summer blooming, and you get sort of a tropical feel. So if you always wanted more of a tropical look out there, but they're very, very cold hardy. So no problem whatsoever. Get that tropical look, get large, beautiful, colored and flowers out there. So really great, great summer blooming. Now, I mentioned cold tolerance, heat tolerance, drought tolerance. They are also salt tolerant. So if you want to place them out by the road or you want them at the edge of the driveway, no problem, okay? No worries there. They're actually black walnut tolerant. So for those of you that have lived with a black walnut tree, they're lovely, but there are many plants that will not survive around, near, or under that black walnut. So guess what? Rose of Sharon can tolerate that as well. So many attributes. Where you would place them in the garden, gosh, like I mentioned, foundation plantings, they make a wonderful hedge or natural screen in an area. They make an excellent backdrop for perennials, no problem whatsoever. Cottage gardens, they look lovely in cottage gardens with all of their different flower colors. So really, it's up to you how you want to, plant them and use them out in the sunny landscape again. Okay. Now, I should say with these plants, maintenance-wise, again, very, very easy to grow and use out in the landscape. The one thing that I would recommend keeping an eye on is pruning with these. The reason being is that Rose of Sharon bloom on new wood, okay? So that lends them to be pruned fairly heavily, and you would want to do that if your goal is to keep on bringing on new growth and new flowering every season. These plants can get very, very full, very, very woody on the inside. So it is recommended that you remove some of the older stems every season so you get new growth, new wood, new flowers. Okay, so do keep that in mind. As far as the pruning maintenance is concerned, that might be a little bit more intensive. Don't get me wrong, you don't have to prune them, but they will get bigger and get full of woody stems as they continue to grow and mature. And after a while, they might not bloom as well as you wanted them to. That's the indication that you need to probably get in there. Again, late winter, early spring is the best time to do it. And go ahead and remove some of those woody stems, take them all the way down to the ground, and it will reflush for you, no problem. Okay, so pruning maintenance is a little bit more with this plant in general. As I mentioned before, most of these varieties now are what we call triploids, which basically means that they have 3 sets of complete chromosomes. And when plant breeders try to breed for better flowering, better habit, sterility, okay, so they don't produce seeds, then that's what they do. So with a triploid form, which most of these are, you're going to find that they are, and I'm going to give you a caveat here, they're supposed to be seedless. They might produce some seeds, so you might see seed pods on some of these plants as they go through the growing season, but those seeds tend to be non-viable, okay? So you might think, oh my gosh, this Rose of Sharon is producing seeds and I'm gonna have seedlings everywhere. It's not necessarily the case, okay? So just keep that in mind. With Rose of Sharon, let's talk about this family. So Rose of Sharon is in this big family of plants. It's the Malvaceae. And Malva, you might have heard of Malva or mallow before. So it is in the same family as okra. It is in the same family as your perennial hibiscus and your tropical hibiscus. It's in the same family as hollyhocks. So if you've ever heard of shrub althea, sometimes we don't tend to call these plants althea, but down south I think a lot of people refer to them as althea or shrub althea. So if you ever hear that name, same thing, okay? And cotton. So cotton's in this family too. So big, big, big family. And of course, I always think about marshmallows. Well, a true marshmallow, edible marshmallow, used to be made derived from a marshmallow. Okay, so that's kind of how it got its name. I don't think they use marshmallows too much anymore to make marshmallows, but again, something interesting about the family. Okay, so let's talk about varieties. Now, there are so many varieties. I think Proven Winners has really kind of covered the spectrum with varieties. They have varieties that are very short, like Little Kim. So we do have a Little Kim right down here. Little Kim, there's several colors in the series. This one is called Little Kim Red. Little Kim Red has a beautiful, about 3-inch wide flower, gorgeous dark pink petals. And you'll usually see with Rose of Sharon flowers and hibiscus flowers, they usually have 5 petals on them. They tend to have a large eye or colorful eye in the center. Some don't, but most of them do. And then kind of a unique thing with hibiscus is their stamens, okay, are produced in this column. So it's called a staminate column. So you see the column of stamens, and then you see the pistil, the top of the pistil, right at the top of the column, okay? So there's lots of pollen in one spot. That's why you see these pollinators going in and really trying to find the center of the hibiscus flower so they can pick that up, obviously. So there you go. Now, Little Kim, 3 to 4 foot tall. This is considered a dwarf. It is beautiful out in the landscape, but it's also great in a container. So if you want to use it as like a thriller in a sunny container, great, no problem whatsoever, okay? Next size up is going to kind of be a medium shrub form. And usually these guys are right around the 4 to 6 foot mark, maybe 4 to 8 foot mark, something like sugar tip here. Now, I've talked about sugar tip before. The reason being this plant is really cool for me is that it has variegated foliage. So you not only have foliage interest through the spring and early summer, then you get double flowering. And sugar tip does have beautiful double pink flowers. And you can see right in the center, it has a reddish kind of eye. So these flowers are very, very dense. There's a lot of petals there. You'll still see pollinators around them, but not quite as many as you would in a single flower hibiscus. But these flowers are lovely. So sugar tip, will come in a shrub form, like I said, about 4 to 6 foot tall, or a tree form as well. And any of your bush form hibiscus, you can train them to kind of grow more upright, remove some of the stems, find a single trunk that's nice and thick, and then you can actually train your own hibiscus shrub, Rose of Sharon shrub or hibiscus shrub to grow up and become a tree as well. So if that's something you want to do, that is very, very common and easy to do. So sugar tip here, about 4 to 6 foot tall. When you put it on a 4 or 5 foot trunk, then of course it's going to be 9 to about 11, 12 foot tall as it grows and fills out. So a small, nice tree that you can put in smaller areas and more compact areas. You can also plant these in pots. Just make sure, again, that there's plenty of drainage and that you want to make sure that you're protecting them. If they're in pots, you want to make sure that you're protecting them for the winter time, okay? So bringing them to the protected side of the house, trying to mulch over the pots, or bring the pot inside a cold garage, water it lightly once a month over winter, you're ready to go, okay? Now, the larger hibiscus, and again, look at the tags, and I keep on saying hibiscus, it's Rose of Sharon or hibiscus, interchangeable here. The larger hibiscus are more of that tall hedge form. So we have the doubled flowering chiffon. Now, chiffon series has many colors. I think there's like 6 or 7 colors. There's lavender, there's pink, there's blue, lots of different colors. Obviously, you see the white here. Again, more of an anemone-like flower where it has smaller petals on the inside. You can still see that pistil and the staminate column there, but beautiful plant. This one is going to grow up to 12 foot tall and about 4 to 6 foot wide. So again, just remember, they look short now when you buy them in the nursery. They'll really fill out. So make sure you read your tags to know which one you're getting, because this is not a dwarf at all, okay? The single flowering type that I have here, this is called Azurri Blue Satin, or I should say Satin Blue Azurri. Satin is the name of the series. Now, Satin series, again, gorgeous, large flowers, probably about 4 inches wide, beautiful open flower. You can see that dark ring around the center. Again, many colors, probably 6 or more colors in this series as well. Again, tall grower, so up to that 8 to 12 foot mark. Again, 4 to 6 foot wide. So chiffon and satin, you're looking for taller screens or hedging? Absolutely. Again, they're deciduous plants though, so they're going to lose their leaves in the fall, all through the winter. You'll have the stems upright, and then of course flush back out in the spring. So keep that in mind. If you're thinking privacy screen, you really do want to plant them a little bit closer so you do have some privacy from the stems, okay? This one is kind of unique. It looks more tropical than the others. The foliage is much larger. This one's called Full Blast, and the flowers are definitely larger than the others too. Again, beautiful funnel-shaped flower. You do have the 5 petals, again, really big staminate column in the center. Really, really pretty plant. This one's going to be an 8 to 10 footer. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more open. These guys get really, really dense with branches and so forth. This one's a little bit more open. It almost looks like a perennial hibiscus a little bit, but again, a very pretty kind of tropical look to Full Blast, okay? Now on the far end there is Fiji, and Fiji's a newer variety for us. We just started growing Fiji. Fiji is kind of medium height, so again around that 4 to 6 foot, maybe 8 foot tall, and about 4 to 6 foot wide. But what's really cool about Fiji is it's got those nice big flowers. It starts with pink buds. It opens kind of white petals, but the white petals are infused with a blush pink. So it's really pretty. It almost looks like it has that tie-dyed effect, if you will, okay? Just on the end here, I wanted to show you, this is a chiffon tree. So again, you take the chiffon series, you go ahead and create a tree, a small patio tree, smaller size tree. Anytime you get under about 25, 20 feet, it's a small tree, okay? And chiffon, this is chiffon lavender. Again, it's on a 4 foot trunk, and then you add 8 to 12 foot on there. Again, you've got a 12 to 16 foot tree as it matures. So again, just read your tags. Make sure you know how big your plants are gonna get, because these guys grow, and they grow very, very easily, okay? So basically that is Rose of Sharon in a nutshell. Lots of sun, okay, that's what they prefer. Soil condition, we always want you to improve your soil with organic matter, but you really don't have to. You can just go ahead and plant them. They usually do very, very well, establish very well. I forgot to mention mulching. So of course it always helps. After you plant, you water well, and then give them about 1 to 2 inches of mulch around the base, just so they don't dry out quickly, okay? And then go from there. I think you'll really enjoy them. I think you'll love watching the pollinators move through the flowers and really go for the pollen and the nectar in the center. And they're just a fabulous summer blooming plant. Enjoy.